Okay, got it. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Multicultural Children's Book Club. I am Ellie Wyndham, and I'm the founder and program manager for Walking Other People's Shoes. I'm based in New York City. I'm Brooklyn. Walking in Other People's Shoes strives to empower women of color voices through providing transformative experiences through storytelling and community. We're really happy that you could join us tonight for the Multicultural Children's Book Club. This is a free virtual book club for children's parents and educators and others who want to, have a deeper dive into themed activities and concepts around race, identity, and culture. And then we also share themed activities and also snack ideas. I would like to introduce you to one of our facilitators. The other one could not be here, Ruth, but Mia Wen Chen is our main facilitator for our book club. And Mia blogs on parenting, children's books, and education at pragmaticmom.com. And she's also the co-creator of the Multicultural Children's Book Day. And it's a nonprofit celebrating diversity in children's books. And she's based in the Boston area. And Ruth is our activities facilitator. However, she has class. She's still a college student, but she's pursuing a bachelor's in Speech Pathology and Audiology, followed with a master's in Speech Pathology. These degrees will allow her to continue her work in schools and provide an extra support in speech to students with special needs. She's based in the Bronx, and you can follow us on Instagram at Walking Other People's Shoes. So I'm going to pass it along to Mia as she's going to introduce us the book of the month.
Okay, great. I found this book last year, but I found it after I already because I usually book 6 months out, and I guess don't judge author by by reputation, because when I saw Lee Wen had a picture book out, I just assumed it was LGBTQ themed because I knew he had a YA book and maybe even 2, and I just thought, oh, great, maybe I'll look for it for June. But then, and so we used the Nate Goodell book last year, and then I think I happened upon the book trailer, and it was a 1 minute, really amazing book trailer. And I was like, what? Wait, oh my gosh, I didn't realize what the book was about. And I was like, okay, I have to get a copy and I have to read it. And I think it would be perfect for next year. And that's what happened. And so this book is red and green and blue and white. It's by Lee Wen. It's illustrated by Paul O. Zielinski, who's an amazing illustrator. And it's inspired by a true story. I looked it up. It's based in Billings, Montana, which is kind of a small town, but not that small, bigger than the town I grew up in. And it's also I would say it's a kind of interfaith story too, of Christmas and Hanukkah, but it's also really, of the moment, where there's just a lot of racism and violence, and if anything's getting worse, because I'm noticing more anti-Semitism. I honestly saw on Twitter, which is also a mess, that not Secret Service, but our or whatever, FBI or whatever, was saying there's sort of unprecedented levels of what they feel are credible threats to various groups, including Jewish communities, Latinos specifically, and honestly, Asians weren't even on the list, and we've had our share of violence these last few years. We weren't even on that high priority list. So I'll just I'm going to segue though to my giveaway, because that's a little bit happier. And I was really happy because I thought I found the perfect giveaway. So I got chocolate coins, of course, for Hanukkah. And then my husband like just went to like Trader Joe's and came home with these 2 bags. And I was like, honey, what are these for? And he was like, oh, I noticed you always buy these. Because for my giveaway like a year ago. So I was like, okay, thank you. I'll add it to my giveaway. But then I found these, which they're chocolate ornaments. So it's like milk chocolate and it's Santa's and it's balls. And you can like hang them on a Christmas tree and they're chocolate and edible. And so you'll see from the story that like Hanukkah and Christmas trees and ornaments and are very relevant to the story, but then, chocolate for the snack. And so I do a giveaway, which includes the book and the snack. And since we do it deliberately at the beginning of the month, and then I send it like super fast, like 2-day air, because my hope is whoever receives it will be inspired by the fact that we just did it all to do like some kind of activity with their kids or in a classroom or in a library, so we can kind of continue this like book club, which is what I did with my 3 kids. And now that they're grown, they say it's literally the favorite thing that they've ever done in their lives. And so without further ado, I'm going to read this book. As I told Lee earlier, it's such a beautiful story. Like it's so beautifully written that I didn't want to leave out any page, but just because, we don't want to violate copyright, trademark, that kind of thing. Since we do record it and we save it, hopefully forever, that I am going to skip a page or 2 here and there and just talk about it. So this is the cover, red and green and blue and white. On a block dressed up in red and green, one house shone blue and white. Isaac helped his family decorate their big window for Hanukkah. Across the street, his best friend Teresa helped her family trim their Christmas tree. Isaac wrote poems and Teresa made art. So I'm skipping the page where they are clearly best friends and do all kinds of stuff together. And so now it's like nighttime and they're kind of lighting up their houses. So Teresa lights her Christmas tree. And across the street, Isaac lit his family's decorative menorah, and his house glowed blue and white. So they're also like across the street neighbors. Later, when it was dark and everyone was asleep, shadows approached Isaac's house. Smash! The window shattered. A stone. Shards of glass falling. And Isaac, wide awake, watched their menorah flicker out. And so they're upset. And then like the family's trying to decide what to do. Isaac's mom said, should we light the menorah again? If they didn't, Isaac knew it would be like hiding they were Jewish. That didn't feel right. The next night, Isaac lit the menorah, and through the new window, his house glowed. So across the street, Teresa's watching this, and she decides that she's going to use her art talent, and she's going to draw something. When she was done, Teresa added 2 words and put the drawing up in the window. Through the paper, the light shone blue and white. And you can see she wrote, for Isaac, and she drew a beautiful menorah. Isaac saw the drawing and ran outside. And then we have sort of like these words that float through: blue and white, menorah light, from two homes tonight. So like these kind of like lovely little rhymes that are, like it's sort of like a sorrowful. I mean, like the story's heavy, but then these rhymes are really kind of brighten it and kind of give you hope. The idea grew with more drawings. Their friends joined in, then their school and their library. So you see, everyone's, and here they're like holding hands with their drawings. Local stores joined in, and restaurants and clubs. It was on TV and in the newspaper. 3 weeks after Isaac and his family stood tall, and Teresa and her family stood up by their side, their whole town was dressed up to celebrate the true spirit of the holidays, the true meaning of community. For more than 10,000 windows came. Like, look, you can kind of like, they drew the scene. You can see the whole town, and it's totally lit up. It's not just blue and white, it's also red and green. Okay, let me see if I get this right. Christmas tree, red and green. Wait, am I reading it rightly? Wait, Christmas tree, red and green.
Christmas tree and menorah light.
Oh, Christmas tree and menorah light, red and green and blue and white, stronger together, shining bright. I need a little path. I was trying to do the path. And so that's the story. And it's like, right? It's so powerful. And even more so that it's based on a true incident in Billings, Montana. I think the population was like 60,000 or 30. It's like smallish. So, I mean, it's it's the kind of holiday message I feel like we all need to hear, because it's not just like being mindful, but like really being an ally and standing up. And it's also super empowering that it is a child that did this, like a single child with a single, set of crayons, and how that idea grew. And I feel like stories that show and teach kids, like, one kid can make the difference. That's a really powerful message. And in this case, completely true. So anyway, I love this book, and we're going to talk to Lee more, but now we're going to go to the activity. So I'm going to share my screen. And pull up the video. And this is what.
Hello, everyone. Hope you are all doing well. My name is Ruth Perez. I am the activity facilitator for our Multicultural Children's Book Club. Unfortunately, I have not able to make it today because of my current class schedule. But I'm here to video, as I have been for the last few months, to facilitate you through our activity. So let me just say, I love this book, and I'm sure that you all did as well. I felt like I could relate to it, right? I'm someone who is Christian, so what we tend to celebrate is Christmas, Merry Christmas, right? And I just found it really interesting to find out a little bit more about the Jewish holiday, which is Hanukkah. It really got to combine both and teaches us to respect the beliefs of others, right? So what we're going to need for today's activity is we're going to need a white sheet of paper. We're going to need some handy dandy crayons. I have a big old pack over here. And also a pen or a pencil. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be making a card. I would say a Christmas card, a holiday card, for whatever holiday you celebrate, and you're going to go and you're going to give it to someone, right? I think the holidays time to really reflect and think about what you are thankful for, what you're appreciative for, and what's the best way to do that than showing that to another person that you love and care for. So, with the white piece of paper you have, copy paper, I would like for you to just go ahead and hold it. Right. And just want you to keep in mind, this might not be the most beautiful thing or the perfect thing. But I think handmade things show that you put in a lot of work and that there's a lot of love in there. Now, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna pick the 3 crayons that you would like to pick. I'm choosing the colors that were used in the book, which are red, green, blue, and white. Now, based on the holiday you celebrate, you can either write Happy Holidays, write Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Go ahead and write it on the front. All right, so you see, I already wrote my Merry Christmas. It's backward on the camera though, at least from my perspective. And then I'm gonna write from yourself, you write your name. I'm gonna put Ruthie, that's my nickname from Ruthie. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then you're gonna write the person that is for, the person you're dedicating this to. Alrighty, here's the cover of my page. So now, this is where it gets a little bit fun. I wanted to incorporate both some traditions from Hanukkah and Christmas. So one thing that we saw Isaac doing in the book is that he wrote a poem, whereas Teresa, she did some art. So we're going to divide this part into 2 parts. One part is we're going to go ahead and write a poem, y'all, and then we're going to go and do some artwork. Alrighty, so on this side in blue, I wrote poem. And then with the red, I'm gonna go on the other side and I'm going to write artwork.
Okay, I'm just gonna pause it so that people have actual time to draw and write a beautiful poem and decide who gets it.
And can I chime in and just say that Isaac's poems rhymed, but a poem doesn't always have to rhyme.
Oh, so the text of the rhyming, was that Isaac's voice then?
Yeah, those are Isaac's poems throughout.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that.
No, it's really fun because it means when every new person that reads the book, it becomes theirs. And they read it as they read it, it becomes their book, which is really cool that there are different ways of seeing it. But in my mind, those were Isaac's poems dancing across the page.
I love that you have so many layers to your book because it is very like every word counts, and you don't have a high word count. And yet there's every page there's something you interpret from the illustrations, and you can get a lot more meaning behind each word, and that the way you have the poems sprinkled throughout too. It's really, we'll talk about that later, but it's really, I don't know if it came to you all at once or it came in pieces, but it's really it makes it a book you can read over and over and over again because you don't get tired of it because there's always something to discover. I think that's what makes a picture book like a classic. Like you don't really get tired. Like you can be the adult and read it 20 times and you're not like, oh my God, like, I don't, tell me now,
Well, when they did the audiobook, they didn't read the poems. And I was like, wait, you have to read the poems because it's like a big part of the book is
in a boy's voice too, right?
Well, however they were going to do it, it was like, wait, that's actually part of the story.
So did they correct that?
Yes, ostensibly, yes. I haven't heard the revised version, but they were going to, so.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah.
I love seeing people do the art. That's really cool.
If anyone wants to share, just hold it up.
No pressure.
I know Leanna has some artists in her family. They're usually willing to share. Oh, I see a volunteer, someone volunteering their little sister. Leanna, does anyone want to share their work in progress? Okay, no pressure. I'll keep playing let's see what Ruth has to say.
That word forms how we have them together. Now is when we're going to start getting a little bit creative. So as I said, I'm going to be dedicating this poem to my mother, for my mother. And I'm just going to try to think, what are some things that I appreciate about her? Some things that I love about her, some things that I cherish about her. Why it is that I love my mother. Alrighty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys around 3 minutes just to go ahead and get your poem started. I'll tell you what I started to write for mine. You're up. I love you because you're always by my side. I cherish you because you push me to do my best. You're my best friend and care for me in so many ways. That is why I love you, my mommy dearest. That's as far as I've gone. Now remember, a poem is not to be perfect. It's creative. It's whatever is inside of your heart. It's supposed to be fun. So please don't feel pressure to make an amazing poem. Although I know somebody's going to come and write something really amazing. Just go ahead and take this time to really think and have fun with your words. Alrighty, our 3 minutes are up. So what I would like is for everyone to go ahead and share their poem. I'll start off with mine. I finished it a little bit. It's not perfect, but I'm gonna go ahead. So it says, Dear Mom, I love you because you're always by my side. I cherish you because you push me to do my best. You're my best friend and always there in my time of need. From when I called and ran, even as an adult, you've always cared for me. Mommy dearest, I love you. A place in my heart you'll always have. And that is the end of my poem. So we're just gonna go and take 3 minutes for everyone to go ahead and share their poem. Please participate, everyone. Don't be shy. Alrighty, now that everybody has shared their poem.
Sorry. Would anyone like to share their poem? It can be incomplete, no pressure.
And I'll just say it took me a lot longer than 3 minutes to write the poems in the book.
I see Ellie. I think Ellie looks like she's has something for us.
I mean, it's work in progress, guys. I'm not finished, but it's for my friend that I want to see this weekend, and it's for Susie. It says, "You are so sweet. You have a heart of gold. Thank you for being my friend."
That's really sweet. She's gonna love that.
It's very simple, but I think as I decorate it a little bit more with some hearts and some glitter, I think to add some glitter, you guys, I think that'd be so much fun. So I gotta look for like my
nobody gets like hard copy in the mail anymore. It's like a text, not even emails, you know what I mean? It's like, so like just to get like something handmade, physical, that someone can put on their desk or put on the refrigerator or put on a bulletin board at work. I mean, I think it's meaningful, you know? Like every year for like my birthday or for Mother's Day, I tell my kids, I just want you guys to make me a card, you know? Like just make a card. 2 of you are artists anyway. And the most talented artist always puts in the least effort.
Aren't your kids going to art school?
Yeah, like literally one of them's at RISD and the other one's applying to RISD. And then the one who's not artistic puts in the most work because she feels like, oh, I'm not an artist, so I have to put in a lot of work. So hers always turns out really well. And then the super artistic one like scribbles something in like 2 seconds. And then the funny thing is they all want me to rate them. Like, which one do you think is the best? And it's like, I rate it by effort, kids. You know?
I'm using what's it called? Charcoal?
Oh, chalk. Nice.
Yeah, a charcoal. Like, you rub it and make it look, different shades of yellow.
Pastels.
Pastels, that's it.
Oh,
Yes.
pastels. Nice. Oil pastels?
Yeah, I mean, well, not oil. I don't know. They're sticks.
Yeah. Are they kind of creamy? They're not like chalky.
They're they're chalky.
Oh, they're chalky. Okay, so maybe chalk pastels.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning, guys.
Oh, chalk pastels are lovely.
I just picked this up at the art store, so I was like, oh, I'll try this. So,
Yeah, they layer too. Like you can kind of layer them.
yeah. I only have the like gold and green, so they're not really holiday colors, but well, that's
okay.
fine.
But you have hearted gold, so that's perfect.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
Heart is gold. I want to make a big gold like heart then.
And those chocolate, coins were gold. So that,
Yeah, we got a lot of gold here.
Oh yes, I love it.
Yum.
I think everyone's so busy working so hard on their cards. This is like the best time to give a card for someone,
Yeah, because no one's expecting it,
Yeah.
It's like so hectic, right? This month. So to get something handmade would just be like, wow. You really
It's very
care.
thoughtful too.
Would anyone else like to share? Maria, yes, thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so this is for my little daughter, my youngest one. So can you see it? All right. So the poem says, "What makes me happy? Christmas trees, colorful lights, hot cocoa, gifts under the tree, Santa, and most of all you."
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sweet.
That's so
Thanks.
How old is your daughter?
8 years old.
And what are you drawing?
Oh, so I just drew a Christmas tree.
Oh,
On this
that's
side.
nice. That's a good tree.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it has nice. Oh, I
Oh,
think
I see Leanna.
ooh,
Whoa, look at those characters. Those are very good drawings. They're muted, but wow, that is great.
Wow.
We have a budding artist / illustrator right here. Those are really detailed dresses too. Anyone else? All right, I'll finish up.
We're gonna go ahead and do our artwork. Alrighty. So for this piece of artwork, it can be a representation of what you feel for that person, right? So maybe you can draw a big old heart, or maybe there's a scene or memory that you have in mind that you might want to draw it out. That's really important to you. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna give you guys 3 minutes. So at least gonna put me on pause and then we'll be back. Alrighty, everyone. So some of the artwork that I've started with is drawing my mama a heart. I'm gonna continue on with it and I'm gonna fill out the page with my artwork. But based on what you guys have done, I would like for you guys to go ahead and share that as well. Alrighty, everyone. I'm sure that all of your artwork.
Okay, sorry, that was very quick. If anyone wants to share anything else, we'll have a little. Okay, then I'll just let her finish up.
Was nice and beautiful. I apologize today. I didn't seem as energetic, a little bit under the weather, but as always, it was a
Sorry.
pleasure leading. I apologize for putting from home. Sometimes there are interruptions. It was a pleasure facilitating and leading you guys through our activity. We will see each other next month. Alrighty, bye everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Ruth. Oh. Well, thank you, Ruth. She makes the video, even though she's so busy. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule, so that's great. We have a little more time with our author Lee Wynn, and he does a lot. So maybe we'll start by having you tell us all the hats you wear, because I know you have a really great newsletter. I know you have another like like job that's like, I feel like it's publishing, I don't know if it's editorial. And then you've written, I believe this is your third or fourth book, and different genres, because I know one of them is YA. But why don't let me pin you. Let's see. Okay,
Sure.
here we go.
Well, howdy, everybody. Yes, I wear lots of hats, which is good because I don't have any hair. And I think that the hat I love most is my writer hat. And I love telling stories. I get really inspired by real things that happened in the past. And I think that that's a really cool thing to sort of like bring out and tell those stories in a way that's, well, in different ways. I get really inspired by that idea of like one person can change the world, and that we can change the world one heart at a time and make it a better place. So pretty much a lot of what I do is based in that idea that like even a book, like you can read a book and you can get inspired, and that can have you make a piece of art or write a poem, and that love that you express in that poem or in that piece of art can ripple out and kind of like create, you know, good builds on good builds on good. And I think that that's really exciting. I talk a lot about like spreading light, and I love the idea of the colors. So yeah, I have my author hat. I do, this was my third book. It was my first picture book. I have a book for older kids, for teenagers, about LGBTQ history, called No Way They Were Gay. And then I have another book that was a fiction novel that was inspired by a real piece of history, where Abraham Lincoln, the president, the 16th president, he wrote these letters to this guy that was his best friend, but there are some people, including me, that think he was in love with this guy, Joshua. And so I was really inspired by that, and I wrote a book about it. But then when I was doing the research for it, there was so much evidence that came out, and I was like, wow, maybe this is a nonfiction book. But then it kind of became a nonfiction book about like a lot of different stories about like men who fall in love with men, women who fall in love with women, and people who live outside gender boundaries in history. Because I feel like, you know, when I was a kid, history was really taught like medicine. It was like a lot of dates and names to memorize. And I want history to be more like chocolate. I want it to be like these cool stories of really interesting people. So, and it was funny because this is not like you said, Mia, like you expected my first picture book would be something about the queer community, and actually it isn't, but it is very on theme in the sense that it is about empowerment, and it is about the power of a story to resonate in people's hearts. And even when you read it, I got goosebumps, and I thought, wow, I must have done a pretty good job if I'm still getting goosebumps, having heard this so many times and having somebody else new read it. So that was really cool. And yes, I have a day job for the Independent Book Publishers Association. So it's sort of adjacent to publishing. We're a nonprofit that works to support indie publishers. So there's like 5 big corporations that publish about 80% of the books that are published in the US. And then there are thousands of smaller presses, independent presses, including Levine Querido, who is the publisher of Red and Green and Blue and White. And what's interesting is that the publisher of this book, Arthur Levine, he used to be an editor at one of those big corporate publishers where he published the Harry Potter series. So we've all heard of that. And that was very, very successful. But he really wanted to strike out on his own and start an independent company so he could publish he had more power to publish what he wanted to publish, including my picture book. I was very excited.
Small world. A year ago, for December, we used Arthur Levine's book. What was it? The something
the Nate Gadol.
Yeah, we had him.
And that was really cool because it was also a bit of a hybrid of like, it was Hanukkah, but it was Christmas kind of coming together, these two fictional characters. And Arthur wrote that as an author, but he didn't publish it. Another company published that book. So yeah, I was really excited. I mean, it's a long journey to get a picture book made, and to have Paul Zielinski, who did the art. I mean, he's won the Caldecott once, and he's gotten 2 Caldecott honors. So he is really astonishingly successful. And he's only illustrated like 40 books. I say only, I mean, I have 3 out in the world, but it's really exciting that this was his 40th book. And it's because he is such, you know, stature, the book got a lot of attention, and it got like 5 trade reviews, which is a big thing, and star trade reviews in children's publishing. And it also was reviewed in the New York Times, who called it beautiful. I was really excited.
And it's not, honestly, it's not just because of the illustrator. It's truly the
No.
story that you wrote. So
Thank you. And it really is a true story. I mean, that was it was inspired by a true story. So I didn't want it to be like a newspaper article. Remember that whole thing of like chocolate, not medicine? So I didn't want it to be heavy. You know, it's about a town's reaction to something that's kind of dark. So I didn't want it to be dark. I wanted it to be a story that was filled with light and hope. So in doing the research, I actually, I found the image from the newspaper. So, okay, so I don't know if everybody here remembers what a paper newspaper used to look like, but this is the size of the newspapers back when we didn't have the internet, and all the news was printed. And so the local paper printed up this editorial. And if it's okay, can I read it? Do we have time for me to
yes,
read
please.
it? It's
Yeah.
so moving.
Yes.
On December 2, 1993, someone twisted by hate threw a brick through the window of the home of one of our neighbors, a Jewish family who chose to celebrate the holiday season by displaying a symbol of faith, a menorah, for all to see. Today, members of religious faiths throughout Billings are joining together to ask residents to display the menorah as a symbol of something else, our determination to live together in harmony, and our dedication to the principle of religious liberty embodied in the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. We urge all citizens to share in this message by displaying this menorah on a door or a window from now until Christmas. Let all the world know that the irrational hatred of a few cannot destroy what all of us in Billings and in America have worked together so long to build. So this was printed in the newspaper, and it was one of the reasons that they were able to have 10,000 menorahs up in the windows all over this town of Billings. And I just thought that was so exciting and moving, and that gave me goosebumps. Goosebumps is a really good sign when you're an author. Like when you get goosebumps, you're like, I need to lean into that goosebump moment and figure out. So then the big work was, how do you tell this story for little kids? And, you know, how do you tell it for like the young people and not make it too scary? And how do you make it empowering? And then I also really had a struggle with, like, how is Isaac not passive? How is Isaac how does he take action too? Because I didn't want it to just be about like Teresa has a moment of heroism in thinking up about doing it, because there was bravery on Isaac's part too, and Isaac's family's part. So it was very important to try to find the balance of those. And they were actually real people. Isaac and Teresa were actual real people. And then I fictionalized a lot of it to try to kind of like simplify and make the story work. But the bones of the story, like the big outline of what happened, really did happen. And I just thought that was like so cool and exciting.
Yeah. Well, how did you find the story, and how long ago has it been simmering in your head?
Ooh, I found out about it when my daughter was in 5th grade. And it was a pretty famous story there was a documentary, and then there was an article in the New York Times, a couple of articles, and then it was mentioned in a couple of books. And then there was even a nonprofit that started inspired by what happened in Billings called Not in Our Town, which was, you know, about communities rising up against hate, to be like, no, we're going to stand up together to stand up for each other. And that actually, I'm on their mailing list. I get an email from them like every month. But it was brought up when my daughter was in school in 5th grade, but there was nothing, like, I talked to the librarian and she was saying, yeah, it's a very powerful story, but I can't share it until the kids are older because it's just too much. And I was like, how can we share this with kids in kindergarten? And that was the beginning of me like, ooh, I'm gonna try to simplify this down. And then when I was thinking about like the Christmas colors, red and green, and then the Hanukkah colors, blue and white, and I was like, what if that's the sort of like thematic through line of like, you have these different colors and you put them together. And it's funny because people have a lot of trouble with the title. Like they get, like until they've read it, once you've read it, I think the title is really easy to remember. It's like, oh yeah, Christmas colors and then Hanukkah colors. But I think that if you haven't read it yet, they jumble all the colors together. They're like, that book, red and white and blue and green. It's like, no, it's Christmas colors and then it's Hanukkah colors. But yeah, it's been very cool to see the sort of the evolution of like it going out into the world. And it did get released last October. So this is like the 1-year anniversary of it being out. And now I was saying before we started that I just saw on Instagram a class, a religious school, their 4th grade class read it, and then they did an art project based on it. So that was very fun to see.
Wait, tell us about that art project, just because it was cool.
Oh, it was they had blue paper and white popsicle sticks, and they each created a menorah, and then they put the menorahs up in the windows of the school to sort of show their solidarity. Even though, I mean, it's a religious Episcopal school. I don't even know if they have any Jewish students in the school, but it was so cool that it was just so cool.
Yeah, like when you see people reading it and so moved that they're actually doing, like enacting this like symbol of solidarity. Like you've moved an entire school to do this. That's not in Billings, Montana, and not in 1992. It's like today. That's really, I think that's really powerful.
It was very heartwarming. Yeah, I was very excited.
Well, I'm going to switch to another topic because right now, and you probably know more about it than I do, it's a time for banned books and books being challenged, books being pulled from shelves, teachers feeling like their jobs are threatened, librarians possibly charged with crimes. It's kind of terrifying in terms of like what people feel comfortable reading or making available to kids. What, like, from your multiple hats, what can we do as individuals to support creators who might be under attack? Or what advice do you have for us about, how do we push back? I mean, like, for example, my town, where it's, it's pretty liberal, so like that kind of stuff doesn't exist. But so how can I help other communities? You know what I mean? Versus, and also the scenario where it's like, I'm in Tennessee, it's happening in my school. What can I do without like, having, demonstrations at my school and my job being threatened,
Yeah, it's I think these things are cyclical. I think right now what's happened is it's really been politicized. I don't think inclusive books are political by nature. I think it is become politicized. They've made it a sort of like an issue that they think that they can motivate voters to vote the way they're hoping. But my nonfiction book is on, it was challenged, it was banned, it's on a list at a website that said very nasty things about a bunch of books on a list. And clearly they hadn't read the books, because I knew a bunch of them and none of them were the nasty things they were saying. I think that we have to, stand our ground, speak our hearts. I think that if a book touches you, I mean, not every kid, but many kids in America have smartphones, right? And they have access to the internet in their hands. So the reason that books seem so dangerous, it's that there's empathy, right? Like if you connect with the characters in a book and you can feel your shared humanity with them, then maybe you don't think the things about gay people or about Jewish people or about Asian people or Black people or any group that's not in the majority. that challenges that sort of system. And I think the people in power, a lot of the people in power, are very threatened by that idea that like their privileges, their worldview is being challenged by something as simple as, you know, a book that can touch someone's heart. And I think that we have to keep writing, and we have to keep reading, and we have to buy the books and recommend them and ask our library to carry them. And, you know, there's been a real push about like local, you know, school board elections and, you know, local politics, because that is where a lot of this very organized book banning stuff is happening. And I'll also just point out that it's not just the books that get on those lists, and those lists are ridiculously long. And so, you know, there are some people that are like, woohoo, you must be so excited that your book got banned. But actually, it really, maybe the top 10 books on that list, they get a big bump in sales. But for the other 750 books on that list, it's, you know, it doesn't particularly help. And there's this other thing called soft censorship that happens, where it's like, if a community starts challenging books and you know, and bans some books, the chilling effect on that librarian or that teacher who maybe doesn't feel so brave bringing in a book that is about a community that is different from the majority in her classroom, like or whatever their gender might be. I think that becomes really impactful on actually publishers and authors. You know, it's a bit of an open secret in the world of children's literature that most people don't just write or illustrate. Most of the people that get books published have a day job or have some other way that they're being supported, because it's not a career until you have maybe 40 or 50 books or you've won one of those huge awards. So the vast majority of us are doing it as passion, right? We're driven by the passion of telling these stories. And I think that we have to, you know, stay the course. And, you know, and if you read a book that you love, then share it with someone else and suggest it to somebody else, or ask your library to carry it too. I think that those basic things, and then, you know, getting involved and speaking up when there's an opportunity. The big thing in this book was about how it's not just, you shouldn't stand by when bad things happen. You should, if you are safe to do it, try to stand up, especially for somebody else, because when it's you, it's hard to speak up for yourself. It's very scary when you're being targeted. But if you can stand up next to somebody else and be like, hey, that's not cool to make fun of that person, when it's not you, it's a little safer, right? And I think that that's something that we can do on a very basic level. Like, you know, if someone's making a joke about, you know, a Muslim person, like for me as a Jewish person to be like, whoa, wait a minute, that's not really cool. Like, they're wonderful human beings just like us. And, you know, like, I think that can help shift the dialogue as well.
Well,
So
your
if you
book
want to be
also
upstanders
is a powerful way, because it's not face-to-face confrontational. I mean, you draw your own drawing, you put it on the window, and then it's not like the hater can go and now throw stones at, you know, 10,000 windows. And then,
people were scared. People were scared, though. They were worried that if they put up
yeah, I'm sure in the beginning.
pictures, should they put up the pictures? What would be the reaction? Would people throw stones through their windows too? And I think that it just became, it really is that message, not in our town, right? Like that nonprofit that named itself. They were like, no, I mean, we're all going to stand up together. And I wish that things like that happened more. Like when there's a hate crime against, it's like, we're not free until everybody's free, kind of, you know, that line from the civil rights movement that, you know, injustice against anyone is injustice against everyone. Wait, I'm saying that quote wrong, but
yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah. So what's next for you, Lee? I know you have many jobs, but what other ideas are you working on?
I have another picture book that is going to come out maybe next year. I'm not sure. We don't know the exact time it's going to come out, but there is an illustrator. It's coming out from a different publisher. It's called Love of the Half-Eaten Peach. And it is, again, inspired by a true story, because I think that history is like chocolate when you get the good stories. So it's based on a true story so before China was unified, So back in like the time of Confucius, there was this ruler of the state of Wei, and he had this guy that he loved, whose name was Mrs. Zia. And they were walking through an orchard one day, and Mrs. Zia picked a ripe peach off of a tree and started to eat it. And it was so delicious that he stopped eating it halfway through and he gave the other half to the Duke. And the Duke made a really, really big deal out of like the sharing of the peach. He's like, I can't believe that you would sacrifice your own joy of eating it to give it to me. You must really love me. Like, we don't know. I mean, there is dialogue that historically, but I'm kind of like, I'm riffing on it, right? And so anyway, I thought, oh, and then this is the cool part. For over 1,000 years in Chinese, the way that they said gay was love of the half-eaten peach. For over 1,000 years. So it's clearly something captured the hearts and minds of people back then. And they got so, like, they were so swept away, goosebump moment, right? So I decided to write a really epic story about this Duke Ling of Wei and this guy, Mrs. Zia, and he's a young teen, or actually a kid that grows into a teenager who's told that to be a good ruler, he has to understand perfection. And he's like, how can I understand perfection if there's nothing perfect? So he goes on this search all across the land to find something perfect to bring back. And he ultimately finds this peach that looks perfect and smells perfect and is the perfect shape. And he rushes with it back to the palace, and he stops right before he gets to the Duke. And he's like, what if it tastes terrible? So he has to try it, and he eats a little bit of it, and it's wonderful, and he eats a little more, and he eats half of it, and then he's like, yes, it is perfect. And he rushes with it to the Duke, and he hands it to the Duke, and he's like, I have something perfect you must try. And everybody like leans forward as the Duke like eats the rest of the peach. And then finally the Duke says, ooh, that was perfect. And he's so happy. And then there's a wise man and a wise woman of the court that we've seen earlier. And the wise man's like, wait. How could it be perfect if it was only part of the whole? And the wise woman says, well, but if he didn't try it, how would he have known it was perfect in the first place? And the Duke like raises his hand to make everyone just be quiet. And he's like, it wasn't the peach that was perfect. And Mrs. Zia's face falls and he's so distraught. And the Duke says, it was the sharing of it.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Wow. What,
So
who's
it's
the
called
publisher?
Love of the Half-Eaten Peach. It's coming out from Raycraft sometime in the future,
Spring?
maybe 2024, maybe 2025. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, you keep us posted. Or I'll keep a lookout for it too, because I'd love to learn more about that book too. And do you have is there anything else sort of brewing in your head, or?
There are a couple of other books that are under contract, but
Oh, fantastic! It's so hard to
aren't
sell books
percolating
these
yet.
days.
It takes forever.
And can you give us like a little sneak peek?
Yeah, so one of them is a nonfiction. It's the sequel to No Way They Were Gay, and it's the gender binary is a big lie. Again, it's for kids age 11 and up, so the older age group, but it's really about talking about how the idea that there are only two kinds of people is really socially constructed, and other cultures see gender very differently than we do, and that this idea that you get either a pink cap on your head when you're born, when you're a baby, or a blue cap according to your genitalia, is really a construction of our culture, and that there are very many ways of many other ways of seeing gender, and that has been lived throughout time across many different cultures, including our own. But we just don't really acknowledge it. So it's kind of like pulling apart that myth and really going into it again, and that kind of like avoiding the medicine, really going to the chocolate, trying to let these people from history speak, trying to let people from other cultures speak. So that's that book. And then there's a novel that is coming out, a teen novel called A Different Kind of Brave. And I'm very excited about that. It's sort of it's like a James Bond action adventure, gay teen love story, but it deconstructs the whole James Bond thing and how like one of the characters basically idolizes James Bond and then kind of over the course of the novel comes to realize that James Bond is a terrible role model. So, and that's coming up from Interlude Duet, Chicago Review Press. sometime in the future. I don't know.
Soon, I hope. You are such a shining light. I mean, your books just, uplift and, like give us, something to like, I don't know, grow from and inspire us. And so thank you for all the work that you do. I know we're
It is-
running up on time, we're 1 minute over, but I just wanted to quickly get Maria, who's here when Adcock, because she's going to be our guest next month. Because she has a new book coming out, but it's not releasing till like January, like 4th or 5th.
Third.
So 3rd. So
January 3rd.
can you hold it up? Just because I usually like to hold it up.
You
You don't
know
have
what? I don't,
covers?
you guys have copies before me, the influencers, because I don't have my copies yet.
Oh,
But
I
I
don't
know
have,
that
mine
all
hasn't
the
arrived.
influencers were sent copies.
But well, can you tell us quickly? It's,
Yes.
Curious.
So the book, yes.
Oh no, go ahead. Is it Curious George
The
celebrate?
book is called It's Chinese New Year, Curious George. It is a tab board book. So each tab has a theme. There's different traditions that I talk about. And it's coming out right in time for Chinese New Year, which next year is January 22nd. So I'm excited for it. I'm waiting for my copies in the mail. A few people who are reviewing it said, I got mine today. And I'm like, I don't even have mine yet. And so they showed me and it looked great.
So yours are first board book. So we're super excited. And then
Yeah.
Ellie, I think, is going to pull our winner.
Yeah.
I will send out the package tomorrow so that you guys can celebrate and maybe decorate your tree or your window or whatever, all kinds of celebrations or just eat chocolate.
I was just going to say, decorate your stomach with all the chocolate.
I know.
But don't eat it all at once, people. It's a lot of chocolate.
Well, I know that's good for the winners. It's with their beautiful drawing of, I think it was dresses. I think that was what you drew, Leanna and family. You are the winners tonight. Thank
Yay.
you. I love the drawing. Thank you for participating. We really appreciate that you attended, and hopefully you learned something new. I really inspired. Oh, is she doing this?
Dab.
She-
Nice. Dab.
That's so
Awesome.
cute. I'm sorry. That was really cute. Yeah, so I'm just really excited that I learned something new tonight that I'm going to actually share this story with someone that made me think of her. So I'm gonna and share that. But Leanna and family will get you your books and treats to you for this holiday season. And we're really excited for next month. And yeah, thank you, Lee, for your time. And I actually really thought I'm going to share my roommate the story about the peach, because I think he would be really interested about this. So I'm going to definitely mention it to him. But yeah, thank you so much for your time tonight. I appreciate it. And everyone, I hope
joy.
you have a
Thank
great
you.
holiday.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Thank you for Maria for sharing your book for next month. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month. I hope.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.